Deputies Joe Costello and Robert Dowds. It's the need to develop the use of the drug treatment court. The deputies together have 5 minutes in total.
Thank you very much. Lastin Corley, you're very meagre with your allocation of time. But also Deputy Michael Conaghan would like a minute, so perhaps we can
extend that because we're running ahead of schedule, would you believe?
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to allocate 10 minutes between the three of you.
Thank you.
That's excellent. Thank you very much.
3.33 recurring.
Well, we'll be as brief as we can, and I want to welcome the Minister to the House. This is a very interesting project, Minister, the Drug Treatment Court. It was established in my own constituency in Dublin Central exactly a decade ago, 2001, as a pilot project, and the purpose of the project was to look at people who are involved in drugs, people who are abusing drugs, who ended up in the courts and who received a conviction, and that we would put in place an alternative mechanism for dealing with them rather than going to prison. It was a restorative justice mechanism that was proposed, and a rehabilitative mechanism, and that it came under the auspices of the court services, and that there was a specific court judge appointed that would deal with it. So it was an excellent idea, and it has operated over the last decade, again purely and simply within the North Inner City Park, only one local electoral area in my constituency. It has had varying degrees of effectiveness, but I think once the flurry of activity and enthusiasm and publicity that went with its establishment, it then was more or less left to its own devices, and I don't think it really achieved as much as it could. There has been a review in the last year, and there has been some structural proposals made, namely that it would be transferred from the court service directly to the clerk of the district and circuit court, and the clerk's deputy, the deputy district and circuit court clerk as well, and that instead of the court services having responsibility, the court services would chair an advisory committee that would consist of all the relevant stakeholders, including the Gardaí, the HSE, the City of Dublin VEC, the court service itself, of course, the probation service, and that they would all come together. Now, while those proposals are welcome, I think the issue goes much farther than that, Laskin Corla. And I think there's need for much greater awareness of the court in the communities affected by the drug scourge. Secondly, in this regard, I believe that the local drugs task force should be involved, which it hasn't been in the past, and should have been, because they were very much involved in the establishment in the first instance. Likewise, the judiciary seems to be ignorant very much of the sanction, and that needs to be greater awareness required there, as well as that the legal profession needs much greater awareness, so that this can be part of the way they handle the case with their clients, that this is seen as an option. And it seems to me, and this is where my colleagues are involved, that the North Inner City is far too restrictive an area for it to have operated effectively and efficiently, and that we need to extend it to a broader catchment area, and that this would be the way to move forward. In conclusion, could I say that we should at this point in time, with a new administration, be looking to as many alternative sanctions to imprisonment as possible. The imprisoned population has doubled since the drugs court was established. We should be going the opposite direction. In fact, we have been regressing. So therefore, the whole area of restorative justice and community services order and the alternative approach should be the one that we should be examining. So I would suggest, Minister, that the Minister should now consult widely with all the relevant stakeholders, including in particular public representatives who are deeply involved in their communities and are concerned very much with these problems, particularly in the Dublin area, and that they should be doing so, the Minister should be doing so with a view to mainstreaming the project. Thank you.
Deputy. Deputy Dowds.
Thank you for your generosity, Cathaoirleach. I'll be arguing for an extension of the area of the drugs treatment courts to Dublin's 10, in other words Ballyfermot, and Dublin 22, which is Clondalkin. As Deputy Costello said, currently the drugs treatment court only operates in Dublin's North Inner City. But I'd like to quote you from Dermot Ahern, the former Minister for Justice in 2010. In a review published by him, he stated, participants who engage with the drugs treatment programme have reduced rates of recidivism and improved health, education and social skills, which impact positively on both the participants and the community. However, the review also confirmed that the DTC is currently operating is not dealing with sufficient numbers of participants, and as a result, programme completion rates are low. I'm therefore asking the Minister for Justice to extend the operation of the Drugs Treatment Court to Dublin's 10 and 22, two areas of the city close to each other and which unfortunately have serious drug problems. From talking to the Gardaí and staff in the Drugs Court, it's clear that the crime level of those involved once they're involved in the Drugs Treatment Court, that their level of crime drops steeply. And when I was speaking to staff in the Drugs Treatment Court a few weeks ago, I was surprised to hear that even though the programme has the capacity to take on 100 candidates, it currently only has 35, and therefore could easily deal with more people. Therefore, extending it to Dublin's 10 and 22 and maybe other areas would provide more suitable candidates, because not everybody who is up in front on drugs charges is a suitable candidate for rehabilitation, but many are, and it's a much better way of dealing with things. By expanding the operation of the drugs court to these districts, you would be helping to tackle a growing problem in the city. It's very clear that resources are not currently being used efficiently due to the geographic restrictions on the drugs court, with cost of imprisonment at approximately €77,200 per prisoner per year. And if you compare that with the cost of somebody going through the drugs court programme at less than a fifth of that total, there's potential to make considerable savings in the exchequer, which we're all being asked to do at the moment. And this, while at the same time placing drug addicts in a programme that gives them the opportunity to escape the cycle of drugs and crime into which they've fallen, and which imprisonment will almost certainly not solve due to the power of addiction that they're under. So I really think this is a no-brainer. We must move to tackle the inefficient use of resources currently due to the geographical restrictions on the work of the court. I would ask the Minister to examine the issue thoroughly and to give me a yes or no answer whether he will expand the court into the areas we've suggested, or indeed elsewhere. And if he intends to do that, could he give a time frame when this will occur? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy. Deputy Michael Conaghan.
Thank you, Lascan Coyle. And I'm grateful to Deputy Costello and Deputy Dowds for sharing their time with me. Lascan Coyle, you probably noticed recently the UN report on drug-related deaths. And it's a very stark and a very stark warning and a very stark piece of evidence in relation to our own country, the report shows Ireland at twice the EU average for drug-related deaths. And I think, Lascan Coyle, these shocking statistics must alert us and prompt us to look again at strategies and ways for tackling the situation that the UN report draws attention to. And I believe, like my colleagues and like many other members here, I'm sure, that the drug treatment court programme, can be a key part of such a strategy. And these are short and quite straightforward explanations as to how the strategy works. But I think its simplicity shouldn't belie its vast potential. The drug treatment court programme is currently underused and undervalued. And I think we believe, the other deputies, we believe that the strategy and the scheme, it offers real opportunities to avoid the cycle of drug addiction, crime and imprisonment. And in its place, and those who are selected to participate, they learn new strategies, new skills, new opportunities, perhaps leading to job opportunities, and breaking the cycle and living clean. It has a great deal to commend it. And I think today we're appealing to Minister Shatter to look at the geography of this scheme, to extend this scheme, to work towards putting in place a broader, bringing in a much more broader geographical part of the city into the scheme, and beginning to use this scheme with all its potential. Because I believe, as the other deputies do, that the proper rolling out of a scheme like this can save lives, can save the lives of young people, and break the cycle help to break the cycle of drug-related death. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Minister.
Thank you to Deputy Costello, to Deputy Robert Dowds and to Deputy Michael Conaghan for raising this important issue. I understand the replies are in transit, so my apologies for any delay. I think they may be forthcoming. On behalf of the Minister for Justice, Equality and Defence, I genuinely want to thank all of the deputies for raising this important matter. I know it's something that they have long-term interest in. The Government's approach to tackling the problem of drug misuse is through a coordinated and integrated approach under our National Drug Strategy Interim 2009-2016. Responsibility for overseeing the implementation of the NDS is under the remit of my colleague, Minister of State, Department of Health, Roisin Shortall. The strategy seeks to tackle the harm caused to individuals and society by the misuse of drugs in a comprehensive and integrated way through a pillar approach of drug supply reduction, prevention, treatment, rehabilitation and research measures. Drug treatment courts can have a role to play in both the treatment and rehabilitation of offenders, and by extension can impact positively in the fight against crime. The Government believes the actions set out in the strategy continue to facilitate a planned and monitored approach to achieving the overall strategic objective and aims of our drug policy. The current drug strategy is an interim one, as work which has been overseen under the remit of the Department of Health is well underway in the development of a new combined policy framework which will address both the issues of alcohol and illicit drugs in a new combined policy framework. The Drug Treatment Centre, which originally operated on a pilot basis in the north inner city of Dublin, operates in Dublin 1, 7 and parts of Dublin 3. The court uses a multidisciplinary approach involving staff from a range of agencies charged with dealing with various aspects of the problem of drug misuse. The court's mission is to provide supervised treatment, education and rehabilitation for offenders with drug problems as an alternative to prison. The programme lasts for a minimum of 12 months. It is aimed at people with drug addiction problems who come before the District Court on minor criminal charges linked to their drug addiction and who plead guilty or have been convicted of the charge or charges. To be successful, the participant needs to demonstrate a willingness to become free of non-prescribed drugs and to make a permanent change in lifestyle. Assessments carried out to establish suitability for inclusion in the programme take an average of 10 weeks. The main incentive for participants is the knowledge that outstanding charges will be struck out if the participant successfully completes the programme and does not re-offend in the 12 months following graduation. The programme operates on a points system designed to encourage the participants towards successful completion of the programme. Follow-up support includes 12-month post-graduation supervision. There is no formal procedure in place to monitor offences beyond that period. However, indications are that participation in the programme is linked to a decrease in criminal activity. The court operates with the assistance of an interagency team which includes a judge, a probation officer, an addiction nurse, a Garda liaison officer and an education/training representative and counsellors. The Department of Justice, Equality completed a review of the operation of the Drug Treatment Court in 2010, which provided evidence that the Drug Treatment Court can have encouraging outcomes. Participants who engaged with the programme had reduced rates of recidivism and improved health, education and social skills, which impacted positively on themselves, their families and the community. However, the review also expressed serious concerns relating to the throughput and graduation levels from the court, which have not come close to achieving the volume originally expected. It should be noted that on the establishment of the court in 2021, the Planning Committee had envisaged a potential enrolment of 100 participants in the first year. From establishment to date, 236 persons have participated in the programme, with only 36 graduates. A further 209 persons were referred but found to be unsuitable to participate in the programme. The Drug Treatment Court programme is a restorative justice initiative, and the success of such programmes should not and cannot be assessed simply in terms of throughput. Nonetheless, it was clear from the review and the data that some adjustment in its operation was essential. The review identified particular issues to be addressed in terms of the management and operation of the courts to fulfil its potential by both increasing the numbers participating in the programme and the numbers who successfully complete it. Since the report was published, a good deal of work has been done to implement its recommendations. An advisory committee chaired by the court services and comprising senior staff members of An Garda Síochána, the HSE, the Probation Service and the City of Dublin VEC was established to monitor and report on implementation. Significant effort has gone into promoting the court and to developing the programme itself to achieve improved outcomes within the existing catchment area. The committee is exploring the further expansion of the court. However, this can only be done in line with the availability of the necessary services, particularly the essential drug treatment service to be agreed and provided by the HSE. The drug treatment court programme has also been redesigned. The new programme contains a set timeframe and deadline for participants progressing through the 4 steps. The participants should complete the programme in a maximum of 3 years with a view to remaining drug-free. I appreciate that the 3 deputies realise the value the court can bring to clients who come before it. The supervision is intensive and successive district judges and the court team have done an excellent, painstaking job in helping these people along the road to recovery. The team's commitment is very genuine and wholehearted. The positive outcomes that can be achieved must be taken into account. The Minister for Justice, Equality and Defence has indicated that all of these factors will be borne in mind in determining what happens in relation to the court. The Department of Justice and Equality report completed last year recommended that the programme continue for a further 2 years, subject to implementation of the recommendations. The Minister informs me that this will be subject to review in 2012 to ensure that the necessary adjustments are delivering results. I wish again to thank the deputies for raising this issue, and I will ask Deputy Minister Shahar to take note of the various points that were made here and on the floor this evening.